All right, let's get Facebook in here. We can start the show. I should have grabbed a sweatshirt, because I am chilly sitting here. This room I'm in is a little colder. There we go. Welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday morning, 6:33 a.m. We are officially in the legal tampering period, I believe, Eric. I don't know if there's like a bell that rings at like 7 a.m. or something here, but
Yeah,
we're
it's 12 Eastern.
perfect. We're here. Broncos making moves, and so far it's not been the most exciting period, but we're still going to talk about it and not going to overreact too much, but we'll give you our thoughts and everything. But first, good morning, Eric. How are you? My alarm went off at 4:15 a.m. this morning, and I said, "Oh hell no!" So daylight savings time messing with me. The kid has been a wreck. He had a cold Friday, Saturday, so he's not been sleeping the best. So I'm exhausted. But hopefully we'll get in that lift later because I got some mountains to climb this summer. I got to keep getting that lower body strong and good. So how are you doing?
Well, first of all, I'm agreeing with Dave Glassman here. Daylight savings is stupid. Um, but I am doing well. I'm also tired. I was up late texting with people and everything, just keeping myself busy, as I always am this time of year, especially. Uh, Finally went to bed about 1 o'clock, and 4 a.m. is when my alarm went off, and it's like, hey, time to get up. You got a show to do. So here I am, and it's fun. I love this time of year, and with the draft and then free agency, but it's definitely exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that a lot of people, based on the vibes on Twitter, I'm going to be pretty upset with the moves that Denver have made so far. But we'll get into it, no doubt. But yeah, thank you, Eric, for waking up early. Hopefully, you can get a nap in today. You might need it. I know it's the busy time and you might miss something, but you'll miss a lot more if you are not getting, at least 6 hours. So make sure you're getting a nap in here and everything. We got Dylan in the back as well. Good to see Dylan joining us in the morning, West Coast time as well. Good to see you, Dylan. We got Todd in the house. Our guy Todd Ostendorf rocking the navy blue Bo Nix pick in the selfie. Says, start a free agency. Let's go Broncos. And he says, good morning, Broncos for breakfast. Bring me a running back. So we'll touch on the running back stuff here in a bit. I do think we have to recap everything that's happened first before we kind of get into what more might happen. And I'm going to ask Dylan and the chat to keep us on our toes as far as breaking news here, because things are happening as we are live. So maybe not Broncos related, but right before we came on, I saw that Tua Tagovailoa was officially released by the Miami Dolphins, and just more and more news coming out. So, real quick, Eric, where's Tua going to end up? I've heard Atlanta is one to keep an eye on.
Atlanta seems to be one to keep an eye on, and then Arizona is another one to keep an eye on if they don't land Malik Willis or Cousins, I think was the other quarterback that they've been heavily linked to.
Makes sense. Yep. We'll see. It'll be very interesting. Dave Glassman, yeah, daylight savings time is stupid. Yeah, I wish they kept it as what it is right now. The fallback, I think, is done. I like the 7:30, 8 o'clock. It's still light out. Now, granted, getting the kid down yesterday was rough because it's a little brighter in the room, but it wouldn't have been rough if we were already at that time. So, I don't know. They did it because of like saving energy during war efforts for like in farmers or something like that. Eric, I mean, I don't think it matters as much anymore. You're a history guy, aren't you?
Not really.
Somewhat. Not really. Oh, okay. No, okay. It's Star Wars. That's right. But I'm from Iowa, so there's like something baked in there. Chase Wellner, good to see you. Appreciate you. Eggs and bacon. Who eggs and bacon sounds pretty good. I'm more of a sausage link guy though. If I had to choose, just the spice of a sausage link, I'd prefer. Bacon's like a really good compliment. I think sausage can go by itself. What about you, Eric?
I went through a phase where I wanted bacon on everything. Like, I would go to a restaurant and get a bacon cheeseburger with, like, 2 times the amount of bacon. I am not the biggest fan of bacon anymore after that period. Although I will say turkey bacon's actually not that bad.
Oh, turkey bacon's good. I love it like a bacon jam too, like
Yeah.
on a burger. Oh, delicious. Elias comes in and says, Kenneth Walker, buck the cost. It doesn't seem like Denver is, as we've gotten closer to this day, I would say that Kenneth Walker has kind of gotten out of reach, maybe not a priority for the Broncos, and they seem to be much more all in on Travis Etienne and or J.K. Dobbins. Erica, I know we want to talk about what already happened here, but everybody's got running back on the mind. what have you been hearing about running back so far? Also, James Conner back to Arizona, and no move on Josh Jacobs that I'm aware of as of yet. So the market is the market.
Yeah, so asking around with a couple people and, reading some reports, listening to an interview that James Palmer did, it really sounds like Denver was really focused on Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall at the combine, which is part of why the Jets ended up tagging Breece Hall, and then Kenneth Walker really got priced out of them rather quickly. Walker's price has exceeded the point to where even the Giants seem to be out, and he seems to be favored to go to Kansas City at this point. Denver's kind of settled on Travis Etienne and J.K. Dobbins. It sounds like they're really working on getting both of them back. Tyler Algier seems to be that fallback option, and from what Palmer in particular made it seem like is that they view Etienne, Harvey, and Dobbins as all three different types of backs that they can all utilize throughout the game in certain situations. So it's a lot easier to sell that to Etienne and Dobbins to bring them both in.
Do you think you can get both those guys? You probably can get both those guys for less than what you'd pay Kenneth Walker
I'd assume so.
on the whole.
Walker's, from what I think, same interview. I think it was Palmer. What Palmer said is that 14 million to 15 is what Walker's
15.
looking at, and Etienne right now seems to be around 9-10. And Dobbins is a guy that's probably going to be waiting a while unless Denver brings him back. Might be another June signing because of another injury in his career.
And it makes sense for him. Like even though it's not a good running back draft, like depending on how the board falls, let's say Denver for some reason, they're not for some reason, but like let's say they love Mike Washington Jr. and they take him end of the third round or maneuver the board. The Saints pick the top of the fourth round. Who knows with this class? All it takes is one team, but that maybe changes the calculus. And I wouldn't want signing J.K. Dobbins then to preclude you from taking keep you from taking a running back that you like in the draft, even though I would be skeptical. I mean, the guy, Eric, I'm much more of a draft guy. I don't think I could get behind it. Again, Nick on his high horse again, but the Kentucky running back, Seth McGowan, like you watch him, it's like, oh, that guy's actually got the tools and traits, but he went to prison for assault, and maybe he's changed. I don't know, but that's one where I'm not close enough to the situation where I can advocate for dismissing anything like that. But it's too bad. I mean, this might be a hot take. I haven't heard many people talk about him. He might be the second most talented back in the class. I mean, he's gifted.
So Seth McGowan, I just did working on a series that's covering one player at each position for the Broncos in each round. And Seth McGowan was, I think, like the 4th or 5th round running back that I was talking about. And it all came down to character. From what I've gathered, even without the character issues, he's probably still 3 or 4 in this class. And it just depends on the views of Jadarian Price and Mike Washington, which seems to be all over the place. But he's very talented and there's a lot there, but it's very much a aspect of doing that background and character digging into him to seeing if that stuff is truly behind him. It seems like it is, but we aren't close enough to say for sure. It's just stuff that's being said. I know during the combine, I think Charles Davis talked on it. Somebody talked on it during the combine and kind of said that it was very much a learning period for him, as it should be, and went into a lot of other stuff with his background as to what led to that point and getting out of that.
Yeah. And I kind of take it back as far as like the most athletically gifted doesn't necessarily mean the best running back. It might be Nicholas Singleton just for the size and athleticism, but the vision and some of the tackle breaking is
careful saying Singleton.
What was that?
You're going to trigger. Careful saying Singleton. You're going to trigger some people.
We'll see what today brings. Stephen Bumgarner, good morning. What are you guys hearing about ETN? We talked about it. Denver and Kansas City, but I think teams are really looking to bring in running backs because of the lack of talent in the draft. So we'll see how it plays out.
It does seem like that the two teams, and this is from Palmer and Jeremy Fowler and one of the other ESPN guys, they've all reported on this. The teams that are most interested in getting a running back and being the most aggressive are the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Texans were up there at the combine, and then Landon Montgomery kind of took them out of it, and they've kind of settled. Other teams are looking, but they seem more willing to wait. So that is something that does play into Denver's favor.
Commanders up there too. they keep coming up continuously with running back.
According to those three, is they're one of the ones that are on the more willing to wait, see how things play out. And
okay. I know that the also the Giants talking about it. The Titans seem to be interested.
There's other teams interested. It just
I hear what you're
Broncos
saying with adding more, and obviously we'll see things change here. Chris Bell coming in here, struggling to hope we can find a splash in free agency. Again, a lot of people aren't happy with some signings, especially Trautman. Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Chase asks, wouldn't ETN be redundant with Harvey? I feel like Harvey's a little bit more of a start-stop, where ETN is a slasher, if you will, and ETN's a kind of a good overall back. Now, obviously, some of the lack of height and bulk, like neither of them are true thumpers, but I think you could probably work out, Harvey a little bit more, maybe duo, and ETN more of the outside zone if you want to run that more. What do you think, Eric?
I mean, it was surprising to learn that Harvey's bigger than J.K. Dobbins is. Like,
that is surprising.
He's apparently pretty big. Between 215 220 is what he was apparently playing at last year. Wow. ETN is a little bit right around 210. There is some redundancy there. Both of them have a little bit of concerns with their pass protection. Their running style has a little bit of similarity and crossover, but you can live with that and deal with that as long as you still have that other element in certain situations with that pass protector, which it seems to be why they want Dobbins back. They're eyeballing him as that 3rd and 6 plus or under yardage situations. So it all depends on how the whole room makes out. If it is just ETN and Harvey and they don't get that other guy, I'd be a little bit more concerned than if they do manage to get that short yardage kind of back.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Jermaine coming in here. Good to see you. Mike Thompson. Tony says no more cronyism today. Cronyism's so in. Haven't you? We'll leave it at that. Michael, good to see you. Good morning, Nick and Eric on Broncos for breakfast. Great to see you, Michael. We got Duke coming in here. Says, why add both the tight ends back? You raise your floor a bit. They know the system. They know the offense. And I don't think it keeps you from adding another tight end throughout the draft. You have now somebody who at least functioned. I don't know if that's the word. The role he played last season was the Y. So maybe it opens you up to go different directions. I don't think that Trautman, Ingram, and Adkins should keep you from adding anybody to the tight end room personally, unless there's something budgetary that would keep you from it. But if you wanted to add a pure, big blocking Y like Charlie Kolar, fine. Trautman is your second kind of inline guy. You wanted to add Cade Otton. Ingram is not going to keep me from wanting to add the room if I like Cade Otton. And now you don't have to be pure only Y coming in here with Trautman. Now, personally, I don't think there's ever been a skill position player I liked more than Gronkowski. So I'm always hunting for that, which I know he's probably the
unicorn.
He might be the best skill position player of his decade just because he was so good as a blocker too. So it kind of changes things, but yeah, I think it opens up all directions. Also, Nate Adkins' contract, if he gets, pushed out because you bring in another tight end and you draft somebody that you like more and he's kind of fringe practice squad, whatever, then God bless. His contract isn't one that's, to me, going to keep me from drafting or adding another guy in free agency today.
Denver entered free agency with 2 tight ends under contract, or entered this period with 2 tight ends. They needed to make sure they're at least keeping the floor together, and that's a lot of what they've done so far. They just made the AFC Championship game. They're making these resignings to make sure that floor doesn't fall out from underneath of them, and they're going to use the next few days and next few weeks and then the NFL draft to raise the ceiling of what they can be and hopefully use those guys to get them over the hump. Adam Trautman, his deal doesn't keep you from going and getting a tight end, and Nate Adkins' deal definitely doesn't. It's said it's going to be under $3.5 million on a 1-year deal. And Adam Trautman's deal, based off what's gone around, it seems like it is a 2 and we'll see about the 3rd year kind of deal.
Yeah.
Neither one of them keeps you from out of the tight end market. And especially when there is a lot of hinting that depending on what tight end they can get, Evan Ingram could still be on his way out. Similar with linebacker, where Dre Greenlaw could still be on his way out. So it's not keeping them out of the market whatsoever. It does sound like the market's kind of getting a little out of hand, which just put a little bit more importance on them making sure they're keeping that floor together. And, so again, They don't want it to fall out from underneath them to where they just collapse and take a major step back from last year at this point, because that's all they can do right now. And so it's just, what's the next step? What happens over today and tomorrow? It's part of the reason why, again, they're looking at bringing Alex Singleton back. It's why they looked at bringing back Justin Strnad, keeping that floor up. But none of these moves are going to keep them out of going and getting a guy in free agency or in the draft. It's just making sure, as Denver has done since George Paton's got here, that they have somebody in case they don't get those guys in free agency or the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, raises the floor. And I was happy to have Strnad back. I think that was a good deal for him. Maybe I'll ask the producer to put it in the chat, so I don't have it in front of me here. But was it 18 million, 3 years?
Up to 18 and a half or something like that, yeah.
18 and a half, that's a good deal. I thought that Trautman back is fine. Again, like, your third or fourth tight end. I thought he was overpaid. And then the PR coming out after it, where he's like one of the top 3 or 4 blocking tight ends. And then he's on Twitter talking about, like, don't look at your PFF grade. It's like, buddy, the eye in the sky does not lie. And, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I know more football than Adam Trautman. Sometimes on the assignments, things can be vague. But when you are quite obviously isolated one-on-one and losing your rep, there's nothing to say there other than, put out platitudes and PR backed up as well to kind of push a narrative that just doesn't really line up with the tape. And I know the free agency, you're going to overpay guys. To me, Trautman wasn't somebody worth overpaying. He seems like a very replaceable talent. And if you could get him, let's say it was the exact same deal, Eric, as Justin Strnad, great. Like, you're paying him $7 million, $6 million a year, 2-year deal, something like that, then we can talk. But my first thing was, okay, Trautman's back, whatever. They paid him what?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things. As soon as I saw that they signed him back, it was like, what's the money? What's the guaranteed money in it? It really, had they done it basically 3 1-year deals in a trench coat kind of deal, like Denver's done a lot over the last few years, it would even be a little bit easier to swallow even at the money. But the fact that it's 2 and 1, it's a little bit concerning. And just want to grab this here. They won't cut Ingram, won't save any money doing so. Post June 1st cut, it's still not great. It's basically 7.7 million in dead money compared to 6.4 saved. But with how he's played, especially if they go out and get another tight end who can do that, it's definitely on the table. Maybe they don't do it, but it's on the table. But with Trautman, he is one of Sean Payton's guys. There's no doubt about that. And they really do value him being part of that room. But that kind of money signifies that he's going to have a role in this offense no matter what. And so it makes me even more worried that they're not going to go out there and really look at upgrading that wide tight end spot. They're just kind of going to run it back with him. Not that it keeps them from doing so. It just suggests that might be the mindset. And it's also kind of looks like a mindset of, well, there's not a lot of those guys available in free agency or in the draft. So we kind of circled back and just going to keep them there. And then the other thing with this too is with kind of what's going out between the lines, it really seems like they explored some other free agent markets, Daniel Bellinger in specifically so, and they just may have found out that his price range may have been a little bit more than Denver was willing to spend, which led to them circling back to Trautman.
Yeah. Yep. And Todd Ostendorf says Andrew Mason said Trautman has a high catch rate for the position. The issue is that 90% of his catches are block and releases where he is completely open check down, essentially, or, that's a vast majority of his usage in the pass game. So I think you have to understand the type of reps and when he is getting the football and what is the actual catch rate for those kind of targets. It was just a catch-all for tight ends where they're running seam routes or tough ones over the middle and zone coverage and having to come down with it. I don't think he's getting any of those targets at all. So you have other tight ends that have much more difficult asks. It's kind of like comparing the field goal percentage from a post player versus somebody who only shoots threes, right? Like it's the type of buckets that are being asked to hit don't exactly lead to the stats saying the same thing. So again, Trautman, tight end 3, 4, even, 2 to some extent. I can get it complimentary to the room. I would have been paying him probably a 2-year, $12 million deal. But yeah, it is frustrating. And I know that I love Mike Kliss. I think he does a good job, but the Broncos PR working overtime with the quote, one of the best pure blocking tight ends in the game. I don't know, man. I'm not here for that based on what we saw last season. I think there are probably 15 to 20 maybe tight ends who are better. And it's the fact that he offers almost nothing as a receiver, as a dynamic play catcher too. It's just like you got to be better in one or the other. But they signed him, they raised the floor, and we'll see if they make another move at tight end just to round out the room still.
I wouldn't say they raised the floor. I would say they just kept the floor. Same thing with Adkins. Like, just semantics here. Yeah. But with Trautman being obviously stats, they can be twisted and manipulated to say what you want, but that's the easiest outlet without sitting down and showing you all the tape of all the bad plays that he's done. In the last 3 years, Adam Trautman is the only tight end to allow a average depth of tackle that's in the negatives over the last 3 years. He is one of 3 to have done so just last season. And in the last 3 years, he's been bottom 7 in both blown block percentage and run stuff rate allowed. That's not good blocking. Like, those are pretty simple statistics. How often are you missing your block or whiffing on your block? How often are you getting beat for a tackle for a loss on the run? And how often where are your guys making the tackle when they make the tackle? It's awful. And I have been calling Trautman out since 2024 for how bad he's been, like October 2024. So I'm happy to see that it's kind of well known, because early on it was, oh yeah, he's still good. Well, he's not. So it's the deal and the structure of the deal that really bothers me. If they wanted to go give him, as you said, 2 years, 12 million in that first year guaranteed, or even with what he's at now with that first year guaranteed, all right. But guaranteeing money into the second year, and as much as they did, it's concerning. And then, of course, the PR is probably the worst of it all. Like, just, he is not a good blocker. It's very obvious he's not a good blocker. We don't need to be gaslit about it.
Yeah. Not what you want. But he's back, and you have 3 tight ends now where Denver should be able to function this season with the trio that they have. But it's still a room that they obviously have a spot to add both a developmental guy and a ceiling guy as well. So we'll see. Eric, I know that you are not as big of a fan as on Cade Otton, but he's somebody that, since you did bring in Trautman, you could go any direction now with these guys. If you loved Max Clare or Oscar Delp or Eli Raridan in the draft, I think everything is in front of you still with that position. You are not pigeonholed to one direction, having Trautman and Kroll back.
Or Adkins, not Kroll.
Excuse me. Yep.
And also having, and I said this before with Otton, not as the main inline guy, but if they are looking in a direction of where Ingram still is on the table of being cut, fine, because I think he is an upgrade over Ingram, especially as a blocker in the slot. And I think he's not great in line, but I think there is enough. He's one of those tight ends that's right there with Trautman in those blocking metrics that I mentioned. In fact, in run stuff rate allowed, he's actually the one of 2 that's worse than Trautman. I think there's enough potential there with him as a blocker that you can still use him in line, as well as still being young enough. Whereas at this point in his career, Ingram has made it very clear that he is not a guy you can use in line. So I've kind of come around to an extent on Otton, and having Adam Trautman back does make it a little bit easier to swallow.
And if Denver is kind of looking at that Sam Laporta detached big slot type of pass catcher, rather than giving up picks and probably a bigger contract for Laporta, you can get Otton and probably play the same role. And he's going to dabble in some of what, obviously what Ingram does, but also the little Jordan Humphrey role as well. And you could see Denver maybe then bringing, Juwan Jennings as somebody also on the market that could play some of that. So we'll see. We aren't truly in the full on positionless football era, but there is a lot of bleeding over from the positions in some of those roles. And I think Otten could do some of that now that you have Adkins. Or you could go full on, bro ball, bully ball, and bring in Kohler as well, where he's a true big time Y and way more of a blocker. But I mean, heck, does that free up a wide receiver more likely down the field or force them into heavy personnel where your play action then is going to be that much more effective? All options on the table. Juan comes in, asks about the Broncos wanting to be aggressive. Trautman and Adkins, do you think they're being soft? Do you see aggressive or still going big name in the tight end market? I mean, I just wish the Trautman deal wasn't as large as it was. That's kind of my frustration with it, and hopefully it doesn't keep you from going that direction. With that said, you paid very minimal to bring back starting quality linebacker play and Justin Strnad. We'll see. Obviously, all the talk has still been since the combine, but even after this Strnad deal was announced, that they would love to bring back Alex Singleton. I don't know what that means for Dre Greenlaw or anything, but Denver should have some flexibility still to go a number of directions and be aggressive if they want to some extent. And to that note, or to that just on that topic, the Broncos also made a move yesterday announcing a restructure of Quinn Meinerz contract, freeing up, I believe, an additional $11 million, Eric, on that move. So Denver does have, because they haven't paid Singleton, haven't paid a running back yet, they still have flexibility to make one or two moves still today that are, not the big time splashes, but I don't think Denver's in the position where they want to be the team making the big time splashes in free agency. It's just, you don't have those type of players out there. I mean, you see it over and over again, but the teams that win today aren't often doing much of anything December and January.
Yeah. So in terms of creating more cap space, we should be at the point where we don't care that much about it. Are they cap compliant or not? Denver, prior to Quinn Meinerz' deal, they could have restructured 4 deals, Quinn Meinerz being one of them, and created almost $60 million in cap space. They have rich owners. All they're doing, simple restructures. You don't have to negotiate anything with the player. You can just do it. And all you're doing is you're turning their base salary into a signing bonus. Player gets their money faster, and the team's able to spread it out over the next 5 years, if their contract is that long, which is why often you see void years added to so they can get that maximum stretch of it. Mike McGlinchey, DJ Jones, Patrick Surtain, anybody who signed an extension or been extended by Denver over the last 18 months, all of them are eligible for that for that restructure to where they can sit there and do that. Ben Powers is the only one we know that they're not going to touch his contract on. You still have Mike McGlinchey, you still have Ben Powers, you still have Jonathan Cooper, even if they wanted to do that. And one thing with that is Denver is very reactive and not active with it. And what I mean by that is a lot of teams, they'll do their restructures before free agency, so they know what they have to work with. Denver is a team where they'll come to their agreements and then they'll do the restructures to make sure those deals work and they can fit. That's why we get Strnad and Trautman and even Adkins. And then during all of that, it breaks. Well, they're going to redo the simple restructure of Quinn Meinerz. They're still going to be aggressive, and we can't say that they haven't been aggressive already, because they had a 5th on the table for David Montgomery. They got bid by the Houston Texans. They were very much in on Breece Hall to the point where the Jets changed what type of tag they were going to give him. So they've been aggressive. They're going to keep being aggressive. It's hard to calculate just how aggressive in a period where they're not technically able to talk to other teams' free agents, and they got to be careful with that so it doesn't leak. They don't get in trouble. They don't lose draft picks. They're making those talks, but they're just doing it quietly. So it is going to be interesting to see what it is. I expect them to be very much in on a running back. Tight end, maybe wait and see. And I think that their linebacker, they're still being aggressive. It was late into the night. They were still working on Alex Singleton. And from what I understand, it doesn't mean they won't go after a free agent linebacker either. And another one that's been very popular is a defensive lineman.
Oh, okay. And we'll talk about that in a second. David Youngkin comes in and says, will Webb run his own system or Sean's? I think Webb's system very much is Sean's. I mean, he's been here for 3 years, and I don't think Sean would I don't think we're going to see a drastic change. Now, maybe some of the air raid concepts as far as the quick verbiage and playing a little faster on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe that's something that you see change, or just some little bit more keys. But this is still going to be Sean's emphasis. And what is the league telling you right now as well? I mean, teams are trying to pull from that Sean Payton tree more than ever. I mean, he had all that success in New Orleans, Eric, but it wasn't people pulling off his staff left or right that, work with Sean Payton for a little bit. And even you can do multiple degrees of separation on that one as well, Eric, with Ben Johnson being from the Campbell tree. So that Sean McVay / Kyle Shanahan tree maybe dug a little too deep here for some teams, and teams are looking to go somewhere else. But you got Declan Doyle and somebody else out there. Chicago's got obviously some of the Sean Payton influence. Obviously, you got now the Bills with Carmichael, I think, as well out there. So there's a lot of Broncos pull right now because of Sean Payton's ideology and scheme. And I think that because of that, you'll see Webb run way more. I mean, what even is his own system? It's going to be some variation of what they've been doing the last 3 years.
Yeah, this question was answered by both Sean Payton and George Payton. It is still Sean's system. He's just handing over play calling duties to somebody who can, get the plays in a little bit faster, sees things a little bit differently, and allowing Sean to not be so short-sighted and unable to see everything that's going on. Because one thing that has been talked about, I can't remember who it was, but it was in an interview that they were doing. They talked about how Sean really felt that he was missing trends and tendencies during games because he was so focused on what the next call is. And so that's part of the reason why he's handing it over. And then it's been heavily implied by multiple national media that Sean Payton was considering this even before the season started. And that is a big reason why Davis Webb got to call that one preseason game, just to see what he could do in that. And Sean Payton will still be involved. It'll be very much an Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid situation when Bieniemy was calling plays there in Kansas City. Sean Payton will still be like, no, let's not do that here. Let's do this. But it's going to be a lot of kind of hands off, letting Davis Webb doing it, not a lot of micromanaging, and very much focus on constructive criticism because they are trying to do everything they can to get Davis Webb to succeed. So that way he can eventually get a head coaching job. And also him being successful as a play caller means Denver should be successful as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Champagne problems. We got Shiloh in the house. Good to see you. I saw Mr. Killer once. Eli Stowers at 30. Quentin also said Stowers 30 would be nice. Something telling me we won't get him. I'm not as big on Stowers just because I don't like tight ends who can't block really. But if you want to play him in the Alan Lazard, Juwan Jennings big slot role, I think that's interesting. 30 overall, probably rich for me. I imagine he's probably somebody. If I set the over under on him right now, Eric, 52. What do you think?
For Stowers, 52.5, I would probably. I don't know. I think that'd be a good.
That's a good line
on him right there.
Okay,
I could see it going either way at the moment.
He feels like a mid-second round pick to me, but we'll see. Really talented player. Does obviously you lose some schematic flexibility with him. I think you lose more because he's not a blocker versus even the athleticism because teams will treat him like a wide receiver. But he is athletic enough where, in theory, he should be able to outrun or at least create some separation versus cornerbacks. It's just if you're trying to create explosive plays in today's NFL, you need to get them out of shell coverage and get big bodies on the field. And Stowers doesn't really do that well, also not offering the necessary speed of a wide receiver. So still a role. I just think it's not somebody you're seeing play 70% of the snaps. String Guy, good morning. Eric, what do you guys think about Logan Hall as a replacement for JFM? I think same Houston State, Logan Hall, maybe even a first-round pick, long player. I mean, you're talking about somebody to come in and compete that obviously didn't live up to expectation of his draft slot. But, I mean, I'm here for athletes coming in and hopefully getting better.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming out of Houston. I liked him a decent amount. Wasn't the, overly high on him. If I recall, I think he was the 33rd pick. I think he was the first pick, that first pick of the second round.
Okay.
There in Tampa Bay. He looked like he was about to emerge, not last season, but 2024. Fell back this last year. I'm not sure what the contract will be for him, but he is a guy that I wouldn't be opposed to looking in for bringing that role because there's some decent some similarity there to Savion Jones with what he's bringing. So it's adding more competition for Jones and hopefully pushing both of these guys to kind of step up. Because I'm not the biggest fan of Uwazurike being used in that role, and so I like to do something to try to keep that and keep using him in the way that he has been.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and we'll see what else Denver does. Nick wants Rashid Shaheed to go to Denver. I think Eric, you shared in the chat that, and it makes sense. Vegas needs wide receiver, and he knows the people there. I mean, that one just did, just adds up. Mr. Killer says Stowers a better blocker than Trautman. It's just totally different roles out there. But if you're asking him to play in line, it's not a good recipe. Will Jordan Humphrey, think about that role. That's on the perimeter, screens and outside zone. That's where he's going to be. Stephen Bumgarner brings up somebody, Cam Jordan to Denver today. Certainly possible. I've been banging the Calais Campbell drum for Lord knows how long. He still had like 7 sacks last season, Eric, in Arizona. I would love Campbell here, but Cam Jordan makes a lot of sense as well for Denver. 37 years old. He was in the same draft as Von Miller. He's probably one of the best players in that first round that fell to where he did. It had that incredible run, and he fell because of some character stuff. But I think the 4-eye stuff, bringing a veteran presence in the room and somebody, I mean, he gives an incredible interview, Eric, as well. Always good for a good soundbite. Has some teeth too. So I'm here for Cam Jordan. If you're talking, 2-year, $8 million to $7.5 million. And I don't think he should be worth more than that at this point. Granted, Lord knows the market is so inflated right now that maybe he gets more. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think it could be a possibility. It's all going to come down to if that contract can match. He's a veteran that won't keep them from playing Savion Jones if he is ready to start, but he's a guy who can start if Savion Jones isn't. I know when you mentioned Cam Jordan, a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, he can't do this. He's more of an edge." He is not. He is more of an interior defensive lineman. In an interview at I believe the red carpet stuff for the NFL awards, he talked about how he plays at 295 pounds. He was joking around with Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan was talking about, I absolutely hated when you would hit me, and all 280 pounds of you, and Cam Jordan correctly is like, you mean 295. He's a big guy. He's done this before, and some of his best years have been working as a 4-eye-5 technique, even in the 4-man fronts that Saints have used a lot. Guess what? He was still lining up more as a 4-eye-5 technique, which is exactly what you're looking for it. That's the defensive lineman that there's been some traction, I would say, with Denver. We'll see what happens. Contracts are important. He is a huge fan of Sean Payton, and he was very complimentary about this Vance Joseph defense during that red carpet stuff for the NFL honors. So we'll see.
And yeah, we got Adel coming in here, says hi from Brussels. Good to see you. Can't wait for the big splash. Todd says, why wouldn't you want Von Miller if not Cam Jordan? Completely different body types. Von is wide 9-7 technique, finesse spell rusher, where Cam Jordan's going to be playing the 4-eye-5, as you mentioned. I mean, same thing with John Franklin Meyer coming in. Oh, he's an edge. He played defensive end, 7 technique a lot. Well, for this scheme, you got him one-on-one. Denver rushes probably 5 guys more than anybody in the league. Not 6, because that's, shout out to Brian Flores, but 5 guys more than anybody in the league. And with that, you get the one-on-one. So you don't necessarily need the same body types. It's much more slashing up front. So he could play that role, no doubt. But yeah, if they did bring in Von Miller, you probably got to kick somebody out. So the question is, what's the market for Cooper/Ellis? I'm guessing there's probably more ROI and value on that than where Q Robinson's at right now. Like, he's more of you need more playing time. I think I would hold on to that asset if possible. Tillman back with his contract, probably more valuable than what you could get for him. But Ellis and Cooper, if you want to bring back Von, you probably got to see what the market is for one of those two. So I don't know. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say Tillman on his contract might be the most valued edge rusher in this room, just because of how cheap it is. It's a $1 million deal as an exclusive rights free agent. It's pretty tremendous value for what he's playing. But if they bring Von Miller back, it's not going to be for on the field. It's going to be in some front office position.
Oh, and Todd's not talking about he wasn't talking about Cam Jordan there. So just the order of things there. Todd made me think you were. All good. Keith, good morning. Good to see you, Keith. The other news, and Denver Luke asked, are we going to do a proposed combine mock today? Probably not today. We should probably just keep on free agency. We'll talk about it on Friday as well. But all the Broncos stuff today should be free agency. We obviously talked about Quinn Meinerz. The other move being Sam Ehlinger back on a 1 year, $6 million deal? Two? God bless. Okay. All the numbers, they're not directly in front of me, and daylight savings time is kicking my family's butt. But I'm fine with Ehlinger back, and you talk about $2 million doesn't preclude you from doing anything for the room other than now you have a third quarterback who you're comfortable with. I would be curious what happens with the draft and the Jarrett Stidham trade market as well. If that's been out there, I don't think Ehlinger you want as your second quarterback, ideally, but you have a third one now. So maybe, because you have three, if somebody calls and offers, let's say, Eric, a 4th round pick for Stidham, I'm considering it at that point. I know it's risky because of, injuries, and you might have to go 3-4 games without your quarterback. That just happens, seasons longer. And I trust Stidham more than Ehlinger, but a 4th round pick is also something to reset the contract there and get some value back. That's definitely something I'd consider.
Yeah, and there is still a lot of interest in Jarrett Stidham. The Detroit Lions and Washington Commanders are two teams that have expressed a lot of interest in him. And both of those teams also expressed prior to the season a lot of interest in trading for Sam Ehlinger prior to the cutdowns. But Ehlinger, from what has been said and reported, is he kind of told Denver not to trade him. He wants to stay. And that kind of led to him that supposedly informed him, well, we're not going to keep you on the roster. And he's like, that's fine too. So that is something to keep in mind. I think that they'll still look for another quarterback, and maybe not in the draft, but afterwards, adding another rookie in there for it to help them compete, especially with a 1 year, $2 million deal with Ehlinger. So it's just something to keep an eye on, but they kind of wanted to keep this room together. Again, it's about keeping that floor there. And over the next 2-3 months, we'll see what happens on the Jarrett Stidham front.
It'll be what it is, I guess. Definitely worth following, though. And do you have a number that you're like, oh, yeah, he's gone if somebody offered that?
A 5th and a value of a 4th, I would say. Not a 4th round pick, but the value of a 4th.
Like a 5th and a future 5th, or something
5th
like
and
that,
a future 6th, something like that, yeah.
Yep. It would be definitely interesting to follow. So that's where we're at right now. We got Trautman back. We got Adkins back. We got Ehlinger back. Strnad back as well. Still have to make a move at running back for this Broncos room. There's been talk about ETN, some talk about Algier, and then also Dobbins still out there, and still could have Alex Singleton back as well. And finally, the Quinn Meinerz restructure. What are you looking for today, Eric? What is going to be? I think a lot of the moves have been made already for the Broncos as far as the at least the volume of decisions, but I still think a running back and a linebacker seem to be likely, with the potential of a pass catcher and a defensive lineman. We kind of talk about all of those.
I think that we'll see what happens with the Alex Singleton front. They are still very much working towards it. In fact, it seems like it'll be a surprise if they don't get it done. We'll see. That was the thing on Friday. I said that's what the first move I expected to make, and obviously there's something still going on. There's why it's not done. So we'll see what happens. Maybe there's enough interest in other teams that's kind of driving up his price, and Denver's not wanting to budge too much. Maybe it's overstructuring. Not sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get a announcement of a running back. I'd be a little bit more surprised over a tight end, at least today. And maybe a defensive piece, either another linebacker besides Singleton, or a defensive lineman if Singleton is the one that gets done. It does get done.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be interesting to see. The Broncos, again, the moves they've made at least raise the floor and give them flexibility going forward. But said it on here 100 times. The Broncos, the biggest needle movers for the Broncos this upcoming season are going to be players that were already on this roster. So Eric's making a face as well. We'll get to it, but I really think that's, you talk about the wide receiver room getting better. Obviously, it'd be good to make a trade. I think the DJ Moore trade kind of tanked that market to some extent. He should have been worth a fourth, not a second. My goodness, Buffalo. But you want the wide receiver room to take steps forward. Wide receiver coach plus your three mid-round picks taking steps forward. I think you want the running room to be better this season. Obviously, you're going to bring in a running back too, but a huge part of that formula for better output this season is Harvey taking a step forward. I mean, they're happy about him. Obviously, they want more from him. That would be great. And as far as linebacker goes, I mean, it's not really somebody in the room young stepping up, but maybe it's Dre Greenlaw, year 2, staying healthy, stepping forward, and just, another year in the system. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, the biggest thing as far as this team's improvements from last year to this year are going to be guys that were already on this roster. Free agency should be kind of filling in some of the gaps and weaknesses. And then the draft should be about trying to find long-term building blocks that give you strategic advantage based on the positions that you take compared to where they are available in free agency and what they cost to get that quality of player in free agency.
Yeah, so the face was that there's a Panthers guy that said that they're saying that the Panthers are looking at $25 million deal for Devin Lloyd.
That makes some sense with Ejiro Evero and what they got up front.
Yeah, so that's what the face was about. But with it is just got to remember that it's steps for Denver. It has been, with the exception of 2024 and quarterback. And even then you can argue, well, they brought in Jarrett Stidham with that, but they like to bring their own guys back to keep that floor, go to the free agency to stretch that, to raise the ceiling. And the draft is filling it out, improving the depth, and giving them possible answers for year 2, year 3 of their rookie contracts, which is why, again, Sean Payton and George Payton have talked about repeatedly the 3-year window with the draft. Sometimes it sinks. I know you want immediate impact guys, especially out of the draft, but Denver's is more of a wait and see kind of approach with it, and finding guys that, can just fill it out, step in when needed. So it's a process. We'll see what Denver does over the next few days, next few weeks, to raise the ceiling of this team, to hopefully take this team that made the AFC Championship game and make them into possible Super Bowl contenders. And that's just what their next move is finding those guys that can do that.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct on that front. So Eric, I'm going to make you put on your prediction hat here. The next move that we hear from the Broncos will be what? I'll go first and just kind of cheat on this one, but I'm going to say Alex Singleton gets done before the 12 p.m. gun today. And I'm going to go with it being a 3-year, $28 million contract.
I'm in agreement. I think it's going to get done within the next 2.5 hours. And it's maybe not 28 million, but 3 years, not quite 24. So 22, 23 million.
That would be fine with me. The 30 million, a little bit of, recoil at that a bit, but him coming back, that would be fine. And then the trickle down from that, are they keeping sorry, didn't even mean it. Would they be keeping all 3 linebackers then, or would Greenlaw be out? I know everything that you've heard and mentioned on the show has been Greenlaw being back. Obviously the ROI last season wasn't great. A little bit of loose cannon, some weirdness with the hamstring injury. Would he be back, I guess?
I felt that he would be, but there's been that talk, not only, Strnad back, Strnad wanting to be a starter. There's been a lot of talk about that. He's kind of walked back those comments a little bit about wanting to run it back and being fine as part of rotation kind of stuff. But there has been enough comments and reports of Strnad, Singleton, new linebacker, bye-bye Greenlaw. That is why yesterday I tweeted out that Strnad being back puts Greenlaw more under the microscope than Singleton, because they're still going to look at a Singleton or no, they're still going to look at another linebacker, and that puts Greenlaw on the outs. Greenlaw's a name to watch as a potential cut over the next few days.
Am I a little bit too greedy in hopes that potentially it could be a trickle down, again, sorry to use it, downstream effect of the the draft and adding a linebacker in the first 4 rounds that maybe then you're still holding on to Greenlaw day 3 and you trade him for a 6th round pick, a 7th round pick. I mean, just something to get assets back. Heck, give me a 2027 pick. I know that a lot of teams can get value from doing that. I don't know if Denver necessarily will get good contractual release from that, but rather than outright releasing him, just getting another asset to have in the room, I think there's a lot of value to do that for teams as well. I mean, and just getting another pick in there gives Denver something to maybe trade up to be aggressive with, or trade it for a veteran themselves at some point. So I'm looking at both. Well, depending on what Denver does with linebacker and tight end today, maybe there's a market out there where you eat some of the cash anyways and move on from a Evan Ingram or a Greenlaw via a trade. Now, again, we're talking future 7th round pick, future 6th round pick, or maybe, you get a 6th round pick this year and send a 2027 7th back. Like, not a lot, but like getting back anything if you are planning on moving on anyways is better than nothing, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's those options, and it does seem like that they won't, if depending on how things go, it doesn't seem like they'd hold on to Greenlaw. Part of that is for contract reasons, with some verbiage in it as to when money's being paid and stuff like that. It's I think the date is to watch is March 19th. I might be mistaken on that. I don't have the contract information pulled up in front of me.
Contracts
But they're
escalators in them, or the guarantees kick in.
Yeah, when things kick in. So I know it's sometime in March, anyways. So that's kind of why it makes it a little with that you hit that point. It makes it harder to trade him, and it makes it almost impossible to cut him. So that's why I think he's going to be one to watch over the next few days, especially if they do get that free agent linebacker to bring in. And then you mentioned the draft. Even though they brought back Strnad, even though they're possibly bringing back Singleton, they still know they need to do something about this linebacker room. And that has probably been, in the conversations I've had with people, that has probably been the position talked about the most. It's been Strnad, Singleton, Greenlaw or a free agent, and draft somewhere in the top 100 picks. Like, they very much seem pretty focused, and they were doing a lot of work on the linebackers at the combine and asking around with free agents and stuff like that. So linebacker seems to be a something to keep an eye out for, like, in a major way.
Yeah, and as far as we got Beanie Broncos for breakfast cap. There we go. Todd, we got one. Eric needs one. But no, yeah, it'll be interesting to follow, no doubt, Eric. And finally, we last 4 minutes here, getting on out, everything happening. We're kind of getting an idea of the dust settling. A lot of the gang back together, which people are upset about because the Broncos don't necessarily improve on paper, so to speak. But again, you were a broken ankle away from being in the Super Bowl. And it's the same thing as last year, Eric. We have a lot more of a known quantity at quarterback now. But like, the question is the Broncos going to be a Super Bowl contending team this season? Does Bo Nix play like a consistent top 12, top 10 quarterback? If your answer is yes there, we got something to talk about. The other two things, and Sean Payton hinted on it, and he's exactly right. Can the Broncos take the ball away? Can they run the ball more effectively than they did last season, both from a down-to-down efficiency, but also an explosiveness? They got really weird, Eric. Like, beginning of the season, they were one of the most explosive run games in the season, but after week 5, completely shat themselves. Sorry if that gets in trouble, but like, they could not hit any explosives after, that Titans game. They had like 3 or 4, and then they just horrific in the explosive run department, which is really important in today's NFL. You got to be able to hit explosives. I honestly, Erica, this is more of an off-season conversation, but like, if you can't be explosive with your run game, there's almost no point at all. Some other news as we get out of here is Eric either relieved himself or I don't know. We'll see. But Ricky's back online right now, folks. Shout out to Ricky. But he tweeted out that Hendrickson going to Dallas, most likely. So
yeah, that news broke a couple days ago when it was reported Dallas is out of Max Crosby. It says that they're expecting to get a deal done with Hendrickson.
Just a little bit more to it now as well, with the news happening today. And Eric, I wanted to ask you that long the diatribe I had, I guess, but Broncos filling out a bunch of spots on the roster, running the game keeping the gang together for the most part, other than JFM. Right now, if you had to guess the position Denver takes with their first pick and the player Denver takes at their first pick right now.
Well, I want to say Mika Fitzpatrick was just traded from the Dolphins to the Jets. So
Interesting. Okay.
And this comes just after I saw Deanna Rossini talk about how there's going to be a handful of trades over the next 2.5 hours. And then I saw another NFL reporter mention that they're expecting 3 to 6 trades to get filed over the next few hours. Denver was linked with, has said, been one to watch. And it's said that Denver is back to work on getting that Singleton deal done this morning. So we'll see on that. As for a position, it'll probably be one of the positions on the football field and probably one of the players in this draft.
Wow. Well,
they can go. There isn't any way that you can go with that right now because there's still so many ways they can go.
I just want you to call your shot so we can find the episode when they get it right.
I did a player at a position.
Right now, I'm going to just call a shot and I'll say CJ Allen falling there. Denver looking to upgrade the room, turn it over, and he seems to be athletic enough, dynamic enough, smart enough that there is obviously going to be some coverage ability, but a glass eater up front that handled a lot for that team. And at pick 30 overall, I'm not a linebacker guy. I'd rather, get a defensive lineman or a wide receiver, ideally at that spot. But yeah, William says, this is what you guys paid for. Way to go into detail, Eric. But right now I'll go CJ Allen. I'm hoping for a defensive lineman or a wide receiver, though.
My detail is in the fact that there's so many ways they can go right now.
And viable directions.
They know it. And they again, viable directions, as you just said, and they know it. And they're doing a lot of work on it on a lot of different positions. Linebacker very well could be it. And if it is at 30, I would probably say would be CJ Allen if he's available, but it also depends on how the board falls. And when you get to 30, after the first 15 picks, you're throwing darts at a dartboard, basically trying to figure who can go where.
Roulette.
Denver didn't expect Barron to be at 20. In fact, I think it was Palmer who talked about this, that they didn't run a single mock draft prior up to it that they do where they had him there at 20. It's been widely reported that the Eagles last year did have the same situation happen with Jihad Campbell. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers threw a lot of things in the works there because they were so linked heavily to Jihad Campbell that's just kind of where people had them going. So it's tough. Linebacker, 3-year window, again, being talked about. Offensive line is very much up there. Defensive line, safety, like those are probably, if I had, I'll narrow it down to 4 positions: offensive line, defensive line, safety, or a linebacker. That's where I think they go at 30.
Not wide receiver. You're completely
not wide receiver. Out. And for wide receiver, look for the best route runner somewhere in round 2, round 3.
All right. Well, hopefully they aren't just a slot guy, if that's the case, because we got enough small players. That's big. But we'll see what happens there. Yeah.
And got some other news that Denver's also reworking to re-sign PJ Locke.
Oh, okay. I thought he was Bills bound, okay. But we'll see what happens here. More news today. And yeah, fun. I know Denver's people want Denver to make the big move. It's just I don't know if the path is there for the big move without it being detrimental to the team.
Rashawn Gary being traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Does that mean Trey Hendrickson doesn't happen? Or are you stacking? I mean, they need.
I think you're stacking him with how bad that defensive front was, especially off the edge. I think you're stacking.
Well, I hate to be that person, Eric, but Cowboys are interesting just because their offense is so good. If they can get a top 15 defense, that's a team that is going to be very interesting. So we'll follow it. Will be a lot of fun for this team this season. And yeah, a lot of news today. So hopefully enjoy and happy for the players getting the money. Like we always say, it's billionaires paying millionaires. So happy when those guys can that are actually putting their bodies and health and longevity and a lot of the physical detrimental work that's required to play in the NFL for their long-term health to get rewarded for that. So shout out to the players and I won't shout out the agents, just because they kind of annoy me. Did you see Adam Schefter's tweet the other day? I think it was like, shout out, we got the deal done, and FCC agency. It's like,
Yeah,
we didn't need to toss out the agency to Schefter. I mean, you don't have to.
it's marketing, man.
You can keep that stuff below the table. Like if you can take that any way you want. But appreciate everyone. We're gonna get on out of here. Again, we'll see what the Broncos do today. Running back a lot, but this was a very good team last season, and obviously the formula has worked. So maybe it won't be the most exciting, but keep your heart and mind open that maybe a move happens today that does surprise you. Last year, the Broncos, we all knew they needed linebacker, tight end, and safety. We talked a lot of safeties to Denver, Eric. Hufanga caught me very off guard for what they did. And obviously it was the best signing, and like hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, duh. But with his injuries and just kind of where they were playing their positions, I was a little bit surprised about Hufanga. So maybe there'll be a surprise today.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I talked about on Friday, both the morning show and the evening show, is Denver over the last few years, they haven't got to work on their own guys until typically Sunday. And then when Monday comes and the tampering period goes on, we start to really do see their interest in other guys. And last year, I mean, a lot of guys that they were wanting ended up going elsewhere, or being re-signed with their current team, and that caused them to pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot. And it worked out with Hufanga, it didn't work out with Greenlaw. But hey, 50% on those two free agents, you take that. Obviously, yeah. It's 33% when you throw in Ingram. That is still a number a lot of teams would take. If you're hitting on even 1 out of 3 free agent signings, obviously you want 100%, but it's not going to happen. So 33%, that's about what you're looking for.
Yeah, Todd said I'm disappointing him today. Sorry, Todd. It's just sometimes the big move makers on the first day of free agency are the teams you see picking in the top 10 of the draft. Commanders and Titans today. Yeah, that's tossing money around to toss money around. Denver's not necessarily in the position where they have to do that in order to raise the floor of the team to be serviceable and develop people around them. You are in the either all-in kind of move, which I still think is on the table at 30 overall, and maybe even another, couple big picks, but also supplementing the core that you already have here. I don't think there are many core building block pieces that are going to be available to you. The best pathway forward for that is draft, develop, retain, just as it's always been, but I think it's even more important with where free agency is at today. So, Eric, a lot of fun today. Obviously nothing too exciting, but the roster gets a little bit more in shape. I'm very happy about the Strnad move. Trautman, I wish it was 70% of that contract, but it is what it is. Also, I could have used without them blowing up our what's about being one of the best blocking tight ends. Call me Dragon Slayer 69. I don't care. Tape was not great this season, but still a usable player all the same. So we'll see what today brings. Final thoughts, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, they just wanted to. They're going to build off of what they did last year, and that's really their goal. That's why they're bringing these guys back. The Trautman deal is bothersome, but I'm more bothered about the hyping up as a blocker he's getting, and the gaslighting that's going on over that. But I get it. I get why they want to bring Singleton back, even though I'm not, the most happy guy with that move, but I get it. They want to keep the band back together. That they really do feel like they were an injury away from making a Super Bowl. They want to keep that together, and then they want to build off of that. It's not a tear it down and rebuild or try something new. Stick with what the status quo, build off the status quo.
Keep the identity. All right, guys. Well, we will see you Friday morning. I was going to say Wednesday morning, but that's with Scott covering Falcons. And also I'll be back tomorrow night with more information with Carl. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Make sure you're following us. We're at Broncos for Breakfast, of course. Follow us at Mile High Huddle. You can also follow us at Nick Hendel MHH or Eric Trickle. There's also, of course, Dylan Von Arks MHH. We're over at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as the ticker says underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. You guys have a great rest of your day. Don't spend too long looking at the terror light up box. The horrors must persist with everything going on in the world. But, we'll be back to cover more Broncos and just see what's going to happen here. So appreciate Appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Monday. And as always, go Broncos.